The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
Okay.
Well, you broke up a little bit, CJ.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, there you go.
We do better now? Okay,
They
good.
know who you are anyway, so.
I would hope so. I've been doing this for too many years.
That's right. Okay, it is.
It's debate day.
It's debate day, hump day and debate day.
Yep, and our debate this evening will be kicking off at 6 p.m. sharply at the Morton Middle School in the Specialist Scott A. Andrews Memorial Performing Arts Center.
That's right. Be there or be square. You're not. You're gonna miss the ability to listen to the candidates and listen to them give you their vision for moving Fall River forward.
Yep, and we have our Associate Professor of Communications at Bristol Community College, Rick Ribello. He will be our moderator. He was in here just moments ago, and I asked, so did our station manager ask, are you ready for this evening? He goes, no. But
well, he does WWE too, doesn't
That's
he?
right.
So he'll
ready to debate.
Yep, he'll probably feel really comfortable at the debate.
Exactly,
because,
exactly. And for those of you who've been questioning, because calls have been going to WSAR, calls have been going to the Herald News when the debate is, we've now told you. Also, the Herald News debate is a week tomorrow. It is September 7th at Morton Middle School, and that will start at 6:30 in the evening. Their debate, like ours, is 1 hour long. So we want to keep you apprised so you know. We set ours from 6 to 7 so we don't interrupt Jeopardy.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. But now the next thing, at least I'm not sure if I have the same order. Do we have Mayor Correa looks to
Yes,
Battle Blight?
Battle of Blight.
Battle Blight. Yes. Now we've got this. We've got this new initiative. It's amazing.
a new department.
We should. I know they discussed during that charter. It talked about extending the term of a mayor to 4 years, and of course, that was one of the few bad things thrown out. I think they kept most of the rest of the bad things. But you see, this is a classic example of what happens. We should actually have elections like every 6 months. Because every time it's a campaign season, look what happens. We're getting incentives and press conferences. We're getting streets fixed. Everybody pays attention to everything. They've been working on this for months. Well, you've been in office almost 2 years. We haven't had any blighted buildings. And the thing that gets me about this whole thing, and look, you can have your opinion. You think this is wonderful. It's a wonderful thing. Well, I think it's a wonderful thing if you actually inspect these houses and use the law that it's in existence to get rid of them. But we're creating a new department. We're creating some new jobs. And our Corporation Council, who of course
will now serve as the judge,
loves this idea, that he says that after they go to our court, if they don't like the decision, they can appeal to the housing court where they're going already. So to me, this is just like a useless step, because guess what? If they ultimately they're gonna appeal now, anything that any landlord's gonna fight about, they'll fight, and let's just go to the end result. They go to the housing court, and that's the end of it. It'll be disposed of. But he says clearly in here, if they don't like it, Macy said, after the city adopts the state, we'll allow for hearings, appeals to be conducted in the office of the Corporation Council. So, wow, he can be a judge again, or be like a mini judge looking through, telling the hearing officer, giving him signals. Anyone who is dissatisfied, which will probably be everyone, can then further appeal their case to the housing or district courts. Well, guess what? They go to the housing courts now for these things. It says it in the article. So what have we accomplished in doing? Giving a few more people some jobs.
See,
Thank you.
I agree with the adoption of 40U, but not just for these type of citations. I want them for parking citations. I want them for everything. And I want an independent judge or administrative hearing officer. Someone who is not hired, per se, to represent the city. Joe Macy said it very clearly on WSAR today that the department heads feel uncomfortable going to court. So in this case, they'll come to the hearing officer, which is him, and they will represent their case there, and then the hearing officer, who represents these department heads, will render a decision. I wonder what that decision will be. I think it's a conflict. I don't think it will make for fair hearings.
Well, it may not be a conflict under the way they interpret the law, but it's just like the termination process in civil service. That's in Chapter 31, Sections 41 through 45, in case they want to look it up. One of the steps in there is going before a hearing officer in front of the city. But that hearing officer is appointed by the city again.
Right.
And it is never unbiased and neutral, because it's not an independent hearing officer. It's the city's hearing officer who always rules exactly the way the city wants him to rule. This is the reason why we've seen so many people that were terminated or suspended basically win when they appeal. A waste of money. Do we remember the former female police officer many years ago who sued for wrongful termination, won numerous years later, and got a giant, huge check for all her back wages, and then walked into the police department, took roll call and said, "I quit," and took her check and went to another job. We know of other people who have been up disciplined. You're another one. But but the thing is, you go in front of a city hearing, and I on this one, I disagree, CJ, because I don't believe in this instance, and I do agree with you on other issues. But the fact is, and it should be an independent. But I do agree that if we had an independent hearing officer, we would do better. It would be a better process. However, when it comes to stuff like this, that there's already a housing court, and they're always going to have the right to appeal that decision to the housing court, and right now the system is go to the housing court. Why not eliminate that step? And then we're going to hear Joe Macy say, "I don't have time to do anything. I'm so busy with hearings, I can't do anything. We've got to hire 3 more people to help me, with the legal stuff." That's crap. The thing is, if department heads are uncomfortable going to court, let them learn how to prepare for court. Let them learn. We had to testify. I had to testify in court on arson cases and insurance cases. And you learn how to testify. You prepare. And this is look. This is another election cycle. Press conference. Another photo op, press conference op, and a lot of rattling things. Look what I'm doing. Look what I'm doing. I'm going to get rid of these 320 buildings that, by the way, how many of them have been there for the last year and a half?
Right. Well, here's the kicker. Here's a quote from the mayor. "At some point, we will have a person in charge of the Office of Housing Development out of the Community Development Agency at City Hall." So again, we hire another friend to be a department head, paid for with federal money.
And he can be the house czar.
That's right. Now we can be the housing czar.
So again, look, another. Let's look beyond the headline. It sounds good on paper.
It does.
But people are not. They've got to read the article, and they're not familiar with the process. The fact is, this is what they call, and we're going to use a biggie today, superfluous. This is a totally unnecessary step, because whoever's going to fight it is going to fight it.
Well,
And whoever's and they're going to go to the housing court anyway. And the people who don't fight it would have gotten it done in the housing court. Why should we create another tier of bureaucracy and government and create more jobs to drain the taxpayers when there's already a place where these cases are heard? And the reality is that every case that's heard there has the right to go where they're already going, which to me is absolutely ridiculous.
Well, you see, and here's my thing. When you look at Providence, Providence has a municipal hearings officer. They have one for traffic. They have one for each area. The traffic officer in Providence is a judge. He's a retired judge.
Yeah.
And his decisions are fair and unbiased.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I don't want a judge who's going to sit there and be paid. Good, for instance, the traffic department. You get a parking ticket and you have a handicap placard on and your tires are into the crosshatches and they give you a $200 ticket. And here's the sentence. You're not going to learn unless I fine you, so I'm going to charge you $75, which is a violation of Massachusetts general law. Mass general law says the fine cannot be less than $100.
Yeah, but who cares?
Right.
It's only a law.
But again, you can appeal every ticket that you want. She always says, nope, you got to pay the ticket. No, you got to pay the ticket. No, you got to pay the ticket. Well, then why have an appeal process if there's no sense of appealing it? The parking meter didn't work. We didn't have a report that the parking meter didn't work. Therefore, you have to pay the ticket. What if you don't get if the parking meter is not working, we got to and we tell you it's not working, and then you still give us a ticket. We told you it wasn't working.
And what is this an example of? Bigger government,
right.
More taxpayer money. And I gotta take this out of sequence, because you know what this segues into?
Oh yeah.
Oh, we gotta tell you, you the taxpayer, we gotta hit this one early.
Yep.
New Bedford Senator Montigny.
Mark
Montigny, who used to be, by the way, the head of the Chamber of Commerce in Fall River many years ago, leads legislators' pay raises with 79% pay hike, $65,315 for a pay raise. Okay, all you minions that are running around Fall River trying to support a family of 4 on $31,000, look what your legislature, who would not give you a lousy tax holiday, look what they're getting. And he's got the greatest percentage, but that buffoon that they call the president of the Senate was the guy who got the most. His salary is going up to $167,000. So it's like, God, they don't care about you. If this doesn't, you should clean everybody out. This is just nuts.
I checked our local state delegation salaries. Carol Fiola and Alan Sylvia actually are at the low end of the pay scales now at $86,000 and $87,000. Paul Schmidt's at $97,000. Well, he does represent a bigger area, plus he's loaded, so he can afford to take some more money.
That's right.
And Mr. I buy my liquor in New Hampshire, 100 and change. So this is where the money's going. And why? Why are they getting this money? They're getting this money because we don't get paid enough.
That's right, and that's what Rosenberg. But I got to correct my figures. It was 100. He went from 102, $102,000, 223, to 162,548. Right. So he only got a 59% pay raise, but he's making 162. It's just, and these are the same people that said it would be catastrophic if the working man got a tax holiday.
That's right.
Well, it will be catastrophic. Well, if I got a 79% pay raise or a 59% pay raise, and I was making $162,000, and there are other things they get paid for that are not in here, I don't believe.
Per diem?
Yeah, per diem and stuff like that. So guess what? I wouldn't care if I didn't get a few dollars off on a tax holiday either, because you can live large, but it shows the fact that they just don't care. And Fall River is following the lead. We continue to make continue to add jobs, and increase the budget. And you know, we're going back to remember the era in politics when the mantra was, we've got to stop tax and spend,
Right.
tax and spend, tax and spend. Well, we've come back. Everything runs in
Everything's
cycles.
old is new again.
That's right. Everything runs in cycles. It's cyclical. Guess what? Fall River's back to the tax and spend. We talk about it, but we can't afford stamps. But we say we got plenty of money, and we make all these jobs and give out $30,000 pay raises. We create, you know, as he said, at some point in time, probably after the election, if he's still there, he will designate someone for a new job
His friend.
and their staff. So look, people, if somebody getting a $65,000
Pay raise
doesn't make you angry, and the Senate president only got 60,000, so it's chump change. You know, and these are the same people that thumbed their nose at you and they said, I deserve it, and you don't deserve a lousy 2-day break on a weekend for taxes. And they also thumbed their nose, but don't feel alone. They not only gave us the finger, they gave businesses the finger.
That's right.
Because they told the businesses who have seen dramatic increases in their profits on tax holiday weekends, they told them, tough, we can't afford it, but we can afford to give ourselves gigantic pay raises, which is why the state should get together, demand a constitutional convention, and make them go back to the way it used to be before the Holloway Massacre, and say that the people of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts get to approve your pay raises like we used to. But once we booted a bunch of you out after you gave yourself a gigantic pay raise on Halloween, you changed the rules, because you can do that. We can't. We can't elect judges. We can't do things that we want, even though the Constitution, our favorite part, says you're at all times answerable to us. You guys get to change the rules in your favor. So now you never have to come before the people who pay you for a pay raise. Doesn't everybody that works out there wish that? You think the people working in a factory or something like that, or in a car dealership, don't you think they'd love to be able to walk up to tell the boss and say, hey, I'm giving myself a $25,000 pay raise this year. See you later, and walk out. Yeah, how long would you be working there? But that's what they tell us. They tell us, I'm giving myself a 79% pay increase. And you're paying for it.
Like I turned around and I've said, because think about, this article was written for New Bedford, and it says here, some even say that $62,500 a year isn't enough to live on. That may be true if you live in Boston, but in New Bedford, the income per capita is $21,181. Do New Bedford legislators really need 5 to 6 times the income of their constituents?
Yeah, and look, $167,000, $162,000, you can live in Boston. You can't live large because Boston is but they'll probably, if they lived in Boston, they would probably pass special legislation where they don't have to pay rent either, or mortgages. So don't give me that baloney. I'm not agreeing with that. The fact is, and remember, the individual income in New Bedford is higher than what it is in Fall River. So the fact is that our household income and our individual income is lower than New Bedford's. So they're angry, we should be angrier.
That's right. And here's the thing.
This is an outrage because, as I said, they give themselves this. And look, if you were working and you had to make yourself enough money to pay yourself that much, it would be okay. But when you tell me you're giving yourself this kind of pay raise and I've got to pay for it, the taxpayer's got to pay for it, I'm giving you the finger back.
That's right.
Because you know something? I got to go in front of retirees who the maximum pay hike they can get is $360 a year. A year. So that makes it less than $1 a day. And less than $1 a day. And I've got to tell these people who are living on incomes below 20,000 in many cases, and in some cases hovering around 14 or 15,000. I've got to go back and tell them tomorrow that 71 drugs, generic drugs, drugs they make for peanuts, have been now moved from Tier 1 to Tier 2 and Tier 3. So the price of those drugs is going up 100% and 250%. Why? Not because the cost of making the drugs, but like the EpiPen. Those 71 drugs were targeted to be increased because those are the 71 most used drugs. So again, the pharmaceutical companies are giving it to the people. Now I've got to go back and tell somebody that who just got $360, about $6 a week, that the 12 drugs that he takes have now gone up from 10 to 20 or from 10 to 35. So guess what? His pay raise was offset by about a 500% increase in his drug costs. And this is what real people have to suffer. When you see stuff like this and you don't get angry, it really disturbs me.
Do you know what I actually found out? Because I understand this process. Not that I would know, I'm only in medicine.
Yeah, what would you know?
What would I know? I actually asked the pharmacist how much the drug costs in full, without the insurance. I'll bet you out of those 70 some odd drugs that they're raising to $20 or $30 that they could probably get for chump change. For instance, I know somebody that was paying a $10 copay for penicillin as a Tier 1 drug. Guess how much you pay if you pay cash for it? $5.80 some odd cents.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, and that's the problem.
Right, but you're paying $10 because that's what your copay says, and guess who gets to keep that $10?
And
the pharmacy.
And by the way, to segue back to this pack of money-grubbing stiffs.
Coyotes.
3 years ago, it's been about 3 years now, I'd say, close to 3 years, I submitted legislation to help retirees over the age of 70 with their pharmaceutical costs. Representative Alan Sylvia took that to Boston. I went to Boston to testify. 3 years later, no action yet.
It's dead.
Because who cares about those people? If it's something about giving money to some drug addiction thing, it'll be there tomorrow. It'll go through there like food through a goose's intestinal tract. But no, something that's for the people who work their entire lives. It takes forever. It wallows in the darkness of our state house forever. And we'll see, because guess what? We're going to go back to our state delegation to complain about these hikes and ask them to change the law to stop pharmaceutical companies from raping and pillaging the people. These are generic drugs, not specialized designer drugs. These are generics, and by definition, they're cheaper to make. So it's obvious that the pharmaceutical companies are out there to make money. The only reason they're changing their tier is not because of the cost of manufacturing, it's because they have high utilization and they're not making enough. They figured out, well, people are using this so much they really need these drugs, they can't get off them, and we're only charging them a Tier 1. The hell with it, let's move them up, because then they'll have a nice choice. Pay or die.
You know, I'd like to see that list of drugs, because I'm quite sure I'm going to see things like Atrovastin and Lisinopril.
Oh, I will bring it to you. I asked for it at the last meeting.
Yeah.
And we will be provided with that list. And when we do, we'll let you look at it, and you can give us, you can do your due diligence and research and tell us. And I can guarantee you one thing: we can buy it from anywhere from 35 to 70% cheaper in any other country in the world except the United States. So, like I said, this is all, and you know who you blame?
State legislature.
And the federal government. Anybody remember how many months ago now with the senator's daughter before Congress, and they were
the EpiPen.
They were crucifying her for the EpiPen. They crucified the guy with the cancer drug. But what has happened to the cost of pharmaceuticals? Has the federal government passed one piece of legislation to control it? Has our state passed one piece of legislation to control these abuses? The answer to that is no. But what they have passed is pay raises.
Here's the insulting part about it. The federal government gives grants to these pharmaceutical companies to design these drugs. They design the drugs, and then they gouge the money from the taxpayers in the United States. But in other countries, we paid for the drug to be developed, and in other countries, they get it dirt cheap.
Yeah.
So not only are we screwing the taxpayer in the United States, we're benefiting the taxpayers in other countries.
That's right.
Let's just throw our money away.
Sure. I mean, I don't even know how somebody could walk into the halls of Congress or into the Senate of the United States after those hearings and knowing that every other country pays less and look themselves in a mirror because they're allowing the American people to die, to choose between medication and eating, or to die because they're not taking a medication, while these pharmaceutical companies who give them million-dollar jobs when they retire and take them on all kinds of trips and kick back all kinds of money into their campaign war chests, sell that drug. It's pretty sad when you can go to a third world country and buy an American drug for 70% less than you pay here. You can go anywhere else on the planet Earth, cross the Canadian border, 35 to 70% less. Go to Australia. Go to Bangladesh.
Go to Portugal. Go to England.
Go to Portugal. Go anywhere. You can actually buy antibiotics in a store in Mexico, over the counter, and they're cheap. And guess what? They did pass a law. They passed a law to prohibit us from going over there and bringing them back.
That's right.
That's what they did. They didn't do anything to fix the price gouging. They passed laws to make it illegal to go to those countries and bring them back. You can't drive over to Tijuana and buy a boatload of drugs and come back. If they catch you, you're going to get put in jail. That's
drug trafficking.
That's right, drug trafficking. And guess what?
And it's not heroin.
If it doesn't make you angry, people, I don't know what does.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
the Redevelopment Authority says that Fall River can have more liquor licenses.
Oh, yeah, just what we need.
Yep. No,
More
it
booze.
doesn't. Fall River may have room for them, but guess what? The law says they can't have them. All right? And the Redevelopment Authority is not a liquor license expert. It's a bunch of clowns appointed. Okay? This Redevelopment Authority has done nothing except abdicate its responsibilities in this city. They abdicated their responsibilities to FROED. They've abdicated their responsibilities to everything. And as soon as a mayor, I don't care if it's this mayor or any previous mayor, says, I want this, they go, okay, Mr. Mayor, because you appointed me, I got to kiss your backside. Get those brown lips ready, baby.
And while they're getting liquor stores, Benny's is closing, an institution in Fall River, another small business lost. We're so worried about bringing businesses in, but we never worry about keeping them viable in our city.
And I'll tell you, Benny's is a great place. They have things that no other place has.
Yeah, it's a nice store.
And I think that's one of the problems. They have things nobody else has. So
well, it's a negative effect of of our great new showpiece down there at the Harbor Mall. The developer raised their rent because they figured they're not going to make as much money once they open that thing up, and Benny's had to close because everybody's jacking up their rents. So we not only gave them a TIF where they don't pay any taxes, they're already driving businesses out of the city.
That's right.
Before they drive Stop and Shop. So look, everybody, get to the debate tonight. It's going to be good.
The debate will be at 6 o'clock. It will be broadcast live on Channel 18. And it will also be broadcast live on Facebook Live, on the FRC Media page. So we want to see you live in person, or we want to make sure you're watching on TV. Have a great day, and we'll see you at the debates.
And stay angry.